Welcome to HOA Consequences. The board picked the wrong week to play games. The tow driver knew my name. That is what stopped me cold. I am standing in my driveway at 2 in the afternoon, still groggy from 4 hours of sleep after an overnight shift at the warehouse, and this guy in a reflective vest is hooking up my car while saying, "We have met before, right?" I have never seen him in my life. I step closer, pulling my red trucker cap lower against the sun. "No, we have not." He shrugs, glances at his clipboard. "Says here you are a repeat offender. Non-compliant parking, expired guest pass, unapproved modifications." The Heights at Summit Ridge HOA Incorporated called it in this morning. I work nights. I lead a warehouse team on the graveyard shift. I need to sleep during the day, which means my car stays parked in my own driveway where it belongs. And I do not have modifications. I point at the sedan. Stock wheels. Stock paint. No decals. "What are you talking about?" He taps the clipboard. "Management company sent the work order. If you have a problem, take it up with them. We can tow first and explain later. That is how enforcement works." That phrase hits me like a brick. I have heard it before. Not from this guy. From Sandra Roberts, the neighborhood watch liaison everyone calls Linda, because she insists on it. She has been running this HOA like a surveillance state since I moved in 2 years ago, treating every resident like a suspect. She walks around with orange cones, moving them to block parking spots she decides are non-compliant, waving a laminated policy sheet, and using a cheap badge she bought online. But I have never given her a reason to target me. I park legally, I keep my lawn trim, I pay my dues on time. I am trying to sell this house because the commute is killing me, and the last thing I need is an HOA threatening disclosures and liens that will crater the deal. I pull out my phone. "Let me call the management company." The tow driver shrugs again. "You can call, but the work order is valid. Unless you have proof right now that this is wrong, I am taking the car." I do not have proof right now. I have 4 hours of sleep, a shift starting in 8 hours, and a growing sense that something about this situation does not add up. I take a photo of the clipboard from a distance. The work order visible, but the text too small to read. Then step back. "Fine. Take it. But I am filing a complaint." He nods, finishes the hookup, and drives off. I stand in my driveway, staring at the empty space where my car was, and I feel the pressure building in my chest. I need that car to get to work tonight. I need this house sale to close so I can move closer to the warehouse and stop burning myself out on this commute. And now the HOA is manufacturing violations and towing my car without warning. I walk back inside, grab my laptop, and pull up the HOA portal. The Heights at Summit Ridge HOA Incorporated has a website that looks like it was built in 2005, full of screenshots and accusations posted by residents who have been targeted. I scroll through, looking for anything that might explain why they think I am a repeat offender. Nothing. My account shows 0 violations, 0 fines, 0 warnings. Clean record. That is when I remember the cold case. 3 years ago, before I moved in, there was a resident named Marcus who got hit with a wave of fines for violations he swore he never committed. Fake parking tickets, backdated courtesy notices, fees that appeared on his account overnight. He fought it for months, then moved out and never came back. The neighborhood group chat still talks about it sometimes, how Marcus got railroaded and no one believed him. I scroll back through the chat history, looking for details. Someone posted screenshots of Marcus's violation notices, and I zoom in. The format is identical to the work order the tow driver just showed me. Same orange stamp in the corner. Same phrase at the bottom, non-compliant, subject to immediate enforcement. I screenshot everything, then open a new document and start taking notes. If the HOA is running the same playbook on me that they used on Marcus, I need to know what happened to him and how they got away with it. I pull up the county property records and search for Marcus's old address. The sale went through 18 months ago, and the buyer paid 20% under market value. That is not normal for this neighborhood. Something scared Marcus enough to sell at a loss and disappear. I lean back, staring at the ceiling. I let her talk, because every word was helping me. That is what I need to do. I need Linda to keep talking, keep escalating, keep leaving a trail. Because if I can prove the HOA is manufacturing violations and using them to extract fees or force sales, I can reopen Marcus's case and nail them for it. My phone buzzes. Text from an unknown number. This is Sandra Roberts, with the Heights at Summit Ridge HOA. Your vehicle has been towed for multiple non-compliant violations. You have 48 hours to pay the accumulated fines and retrieval fees, or the vehicle will be sold at auction to cover costs. If you make me repeat myself, it gets more expensive. There it is. Her catchphrase. She has said it to me twice before, once when I asked about a courtesy notice format, and once when I questioned a landscaping rule. Both times, I let it slide because I did not want to make waves. But now she is threatening to auction my car, and I know this is not about violations. This is about control. I text back. I need a copy of the violation notices and the work order. Her response comes in seconds. All documentation is on file with the management company. Request it through official channels. I open the HOA governing documents and find the records request form. It requires a written request, a 10-day processing window, and a $50 administrative fee per request. Linda knows I am working against a deadline. The board hearing is scheduled for today at 6 p.m., and if I miss it, they plan to default vote against me and ratify the fines. I have 4 hours. I grab my keys, my lanyard with the gate fob, and my hoodie, then head out. The management company office is 10 minutes away. If I can get there before they close for the day, I can request the records in person and force them to produce something on the spot. It is a gamble, but I do not have time to wait 10 days. The office is in a strip mall next to a dry cleaner. Inside, the receptionist looks up from her desk, sees my expression, and sighs. Let me guess. Heights at Summit Ridge. Yeah. I need copies of the violation notices for my property. My car just got towed, and I have a hearing in 4 hours. She clicks through her computer, frowning. I see the tow work order here, but there are no attached violation notices. What do you mean, no notices? I mean, the work order was submitted this morning by Sandra Roberts, but the violation log shows 0 entries for your address. According to this, you are compliant. I lean over the desk, staring at the screen. Then why did she call the tow? If this kind of HOA chaos gets your blood boiling, smash that like button and subscribe. Because I have more stories like this coming. The receptionist shakes her head. I cannot answer that. But if there are no violations on record, the tow was unauthorized. You can file a dispute, and we will refund the fees. I need more than a refund. I need to know if this has happened before. Can you pull up records for a resident named Marcus? She hesitates. That is outside the scope of a normal request. I am not asking for his personal information. I am asking if there is a pattern of unauthorized tows or backdated violations in the system. Because if there is, the HOA is running a scheme, and I am not the first victim. She looks around the empty office, then lowers her voice. Off the record, there have been complaints, but every time someone pushes back, Sandra shows up with a stack of printed notices that suddenly appear in the file. It is like she is creating them on the spot. I pull out my phone and show her the screenshot from the neighborhood group chat, the violation notice from Marcus's case. Same orange stamp, same format, same phrasing. Does this look familiar? She stares at the screen, then nods slowly. That is her signature. She uses that stamp on everything. But I have never seen those notices in our system. So she is printing them herself and pretending they are official. I cannot confirm that. But if you want my advice, bring this to the hearing and ask her to produce the originals. If she cannot, you have grounds to challenge the entire enforcement action. I thank her, grab the printout confirming 0 violations on record, and head back to my car. Except I do not have a car. I call a rideshare, then text my ally, a local mediator named Greg, who helped me navigate the HOA rules when I first moved in. He responds immediately. Meet me at the hearing. Bring everything you have. The hearing is in the clubhouse at 6. I arrive early, clutching my evidence binder, my lanyard swinging as I walk. The room is already filling up with board members and a handful of residents who showed up to watch. Linda is at the front, setting up orange cones around her chair like she is marking territory. She sees me, smiles, and waves her laminated policy sheet. You are late. If you make me repeat myself, it gets more expensive. The hearing is not for another 15 minutes. She taps her watch. I start when I start. I sit down, open my binder, and wait. Greg arrives a few minutes later, nods at me, then takes a seat in the back. The board president, a man named Charles, who looks like he would rather be anywhere else, calls the meeting to order. Sandra, you requested this hearing. What is the issue? Linda stands, holding her stack of printed photos. This resident has been a repeat offender for months. Unauthorized parking, guest pass violations, unapproved modifications. I have documented everything. She slams the stack on the table, pointing at the photos with no readable text. This is a community where the portal is full of screenshots and accusations, and we cannot let residents ignore the rules. I raise my hand. Can I see the documentation? Linda glares at me. You will see it when I am finished. Charles clears his throat. Sandra, the resident has a right to review the evidence. She huffs, then shoves the stack toward me. I flip through the photos. They are all exterior shots of my property, taken from the street. My car in the driveway. My lawn. My front door. None of them show a violation. I hold up one of the photos. This shows my car parked legally in my driveway. What is the violation? The guest pass was expired. I do not have guests. I work nights and sleep during the day. Then why is there a car in your driveway during restricted hours? Because I live here. The room goes quiet. One of the board members, a woman named Janet, leans forward. Sandra, if the car belongs to the resident, how is it a guest pass violation? Linda shifts, then points at another photo. The wheels are non-compliant. They are stock wheels. The color is non-compliant. The color is factory silver. Charles rubs his temples. Sandra, do you have a copy of the original violation notice? Linda hesitates, then pulls a printed notice from her bag. I have it right here. I stand up, holding my printout from the management company. That is interesting, because the management company says there are no violation notices on file for my property. 0 entries. So where did that notice come from? The room erupts. Residents start whispering. Janet leans over to Charles, talking in a low voice. Linda's face goes red. She printed it herself. That is what the receptionist was hinting at. She has been creating fake violation notices, stamping them with her orange stamp, and using them to justify fines and tows. I pull out my phone and show the screenshot from Marcus's case. This is a notice from 3 years ago. Same format, same stamp, same phrasing. And according to the management company, Marcus's violations were never on file either. How many other residents have you targeted with fake notices? Linda stands up, slamming her hand on the table. This is defamation. I am following the rules. What rules? I hold up the governing documents. The rules say all violation notices must be logged with the management company within 24 hours. Your notices were never logged. That means they are not official. That means the tow was illegal. That means every fine you have ever issued under this scheme is void. Charles looks at Linda. Sandra, is this true? She does not answer. She just stands there, gripping her laminated policy sheet like it is a shield. Janet speaks up. I move to suspend Sandra's enforcement authority pending a full audit. Charles nods. Second? Another board member raises his hand. Second. The vote passes unanimously. Linda grabs her cones and storms out, shouting over her shoulder. You have not heard the last of this. I sit down, exhaling. Greg catches my eye from the back and gives me a thumbs up. But I know this is not over. Linda is not the type to accept defeat quietly. She is going to escalate. The next morning, I wake up to a notification in the neighborhood group chat. Someone has posted a long accusation about me, painting me as a repeat offender from a past case, and claiming I have been harassing HOA volunteers. The post is full of half-truths and manipulated context, and it spreads fast. Within an hour, dozens of residents have commented, some defending me, others piling on. My phone is blowing up with messages. I screenshot the post, then call Greg. She is trying to turn the neighborhood against me. That is her pattern. She cannot win on the rules, so she goes for reputation damage. What do I do? Document everything. If she escalates to legal action, you will need proof that this is retaliation. 2 days later, I get served with a small claims filing. Linda is suing me for defamation, harassment, and emotional distress. The filing is frivolous, full of vague accusations and no supporting evidence. But it is designed to force me into court and waste time. The hearing is scheduled for next week, the same week my house sale is supposed to close. If the HOA files a lien or a disclosure about ongoing litigation, the buyer will walk. I call my real estate agent. Can they do this? She sighs. Technically, yes. But if the claim is without merit, you can get it dismissed. The problem is, the HOA can still file a disclosure that says there is pending litigation, and that could spook the buyer. I need to shut this down fast. I spend the next 3 days gathering evidence. I pull every email, every text, every screenshot from the neighborhood chat. I request copies of the board meeting minutes from the last 2 years. I contact Marcus through a mutual friend and ask him if he is willing to share his story. He agrees, sending me a folder of documents that shows the same pattern: fake notices, backdated enforcement, sudden fees. I compile everything into a binder, organizing it by date and type of abuse. By the time I am done, I have over 100 pages of proof. The morning of the small claims hearing, I drive to the courthouse and meet Greg in the hallway. He has been helping me prepare my defense, coaching me on how to stay calm and present the evidence clearly. But when we walk into the courtroom, Linda is not there. Her attorney is, a nervous-looking guy in a wrinkled suit who asks for a continuance because his client is dealing with a family emergency. The judge denies the request. If the plaintiff is not here, the case is dismissed. I walk out, relieved but uneasy. Linda is not the type to miss a hearing unless something bigger is happening. I check my phone. New message from the management company. Emergency board meeting tonight. Attendance mandatory. I show up at 6, binder in hand. The clubhouse is packed. Every board member is there, along with a representative from the HOA insurance carrier, a man in a navy suit who introduces himself as Michael. Charles calls the meeting to order, then gestures to Michael. We have a serious issue. Please explain. Michael stands, holding a folder. Our firm received multiple complaints this week about harassment and selective enforcement involving Sandra Roberts. We conducted a preliminary review and found evidence of unauthorized actions, including fake violation notices, backdated records, and misuse of enforcement authority. Under the terms of your liability policy, these actions create significant exposure. If we do not take corrective action immediately, your coverage could be at risk. Charles looks at Linda, who is sitting in the corner with her arms crossed. Sandra, do you want to respond? She stands, her voice sharp. This is retaliation. I have been doing my job, and these residents are trying to undermine me because they do not like being held accountable. I raise my hand. Can I present evidence? Charles nods. Go ahead. I open my binder and walk through the timeline. Marcus's case 3 years ago. My case last week. The fake notices, the backdated records, the orange stamp, the unauthorized tow, the small claims filing. I show the screenshot from the management company confirming 0 violations on record. I show the text message where Linda threatened to auction my car. I show the neighborhood group chat post accusing me of harassment, posted the morning after the last hearing. And then I pull out the trump card. This is an HOA insurance document showing their coverage is at risk because of harassment claims. Michael just confirmed it. Every action Linda has taken in the last 3 years has been creating liability for this association. If you do not act, the insurance company will drop coverage, and every homeowner in this community will be exposed. I let the silence hang for a moment, then I look directly at Linda. We can tow first and explain later. That is how enforcement works. Those were your words. And that is exactly what you did. You towed my car without a valid work order, without logged violations, without due process. You created fake notices to justify it. And when I called you out, you filed a frivolous lawsuit to intimidate me into silence. That is not enforcement. That is harassment. That is fraud. Linda stands up, her voice rising. This is defamation. Charles raises his hand. Sandra, sit down. She does not. She grabs her laminated policy sheet and waves it at the board. I have been following the rules. You are letting this resident destroy everything we have built. Janet speaks up. Sandra, the rules say all violations must be logged with the management company. Your notices were not logged. That is not following the rules. That is breaking them. Linda turns to leave, but Charles stops her. Sandra, before you go, I need to inform you that the board is voting tonight on a no-contact directive. If it passes, you will not be allowed to contact any resident directly, and all enforcement actions will go through the management company. You will also be removed from your role as Neighborhood Watch liaison. The vote passes 5-1. Linda storms out, slamming the door behind her. Michael clears his throat. I recommend the board also adopt an evidence-first rule. No enforcement action should proceed without verified documentation logged in the system. That will prevent future issues. Charles nods. Agreed. I will draft a policy revision for the next meeting. After the meeting, I walk out into the parking lot, feeling the weight of the last 2 weeks lift. Greg catches up to me, grinning. You did it. You caught her. I did. But I want to make sure this does not happen to anyone else. The next morning, I file a formal complaint with the management company, requesting a full audit of enforcement actions over the last 5 years. I include copies of my evidence and Marcus's documents. Within a week, the audit confirms what I suspected. Linda has been running a scheme for years, issuing fake notices, manufacturing late fees, and using enforcement actions to extract money from residents. The board votes to refund all fines and fees tied to the scheme, totaling over $50,000 across dozens of residents. Marcus gets a check in the mail. So do 6 other former residents who were targeted. I get a refund for the tow fees, plus an apology letter from the board. But the real victory is the policy change. The board adopts the evidence-first rule, requiring all enforcement actions to be logged, verified, and reviewed before any fines or tows can be issued. Linda's old tactics stop working overnight. 2 weeks later, I am packing boxes for the move when I get a text from Greg. Linda tried to show up at the last board meeting. Security turned her away. The no-contact directive is holding. I text back. Good. The house sale closes without issue. The buyer is happy. I am happy. And I am finally moving closer to the warehouse. But as I load the last box into the truck, I think about Marcus and all the other residents who got railroaded before I reopened the case. They did not have the time, the energy, or the evidence to fight back. I did. And because I did, the system changed. A few months later, I am settling into my new place when I get an email from the management company. The audit uncovered additional evidence of backdated notices and altered minutes. Linda has been permanently banned from all HOA leadership roles across the entire management portfolio. She also settled a civil claim with Marcus, paying him back for the loss he took on his house sale. It is not everything, but it is something. I close the email and lean back in my chair. I let her talk, because every word was helping me. That is what I told myself when this started. And I was right. Every time Linda escalated, every time she moved the goalposts, every time she threatened me or filed a fake notice or sent a smug text, she was building my case. She thought she was in control. She thought the rules protected her. But the rules only work if you follow them. And she did not. The Heights at Summit Ridge HOA Incorporated is under new management now. The board adopted transparency reforms, mandatory record keeping, and quarterly audits. The neighborhood group chat is quieter, less toxic. Residents are starting to trust the system again. It is not perfect, but it is better. And me? I am sleeping through the day in peace. No orange cones blocking my driveway. No fake notices taped to my door. No tow trucks circling like vultures. I sold the house, moved on, and left Linda's fake fine scheme in the dust. But the real kicker? A few weeks ago, I ran into the tow driver at a gas station. He recognized me immediately. "Hey, you are the guy from Heights at Summit Ridge. I heard what happened. That lady got banned, right?" "Yeah, she did." He shakes his head. "Man, I towed so many cars for her. She always had a stack of work orders ready to go. I should have known something was off. Anyway, I am glad you fought it. That was messed up." I nod, pay for my coffee, and walk out. That is the thing about schemes like this. They only work because people do not question them. The tow driver did not question the work orders. The board did not question the notices. The management company did not question the enforcement logs. Everyone assumed Linda was following the rules because she acted like she was. But I questioned it. I dug into the cold case. I reopened the investigation. I connected the clues. And I caught her. A few months later, I hear through the grapevine that Linda tried to run for a board position in a different HOA. She was rejected after a background check flagged her history. The scheme is over. The cold case is closed. And the funny thing is, the one rule she weaponized against me, the one she repeated over and over, came back to bite her in the most satisfying way. We can tow first and explain later. That is how enforcement works. Except it is not. Enforcement requires documentation, verification, and accountability. And when you skip those steps, you do not get to tow first. You get banned. The board refunded the fines and fees tied to the scheme. Linda got placed on a no-contact directive by management. And in a public meeting moment where the minutes turned against her, the policy she used to control everyone became the tool that destroyed her authority. If you make me repeat myself, it gets more expensive. She was right about that. Every time she repeated the lie, it cost her a little more credibility, a little more trust, a little more support. And by the end, the price was her entire role in the HOA. I am in my new place now, closer to the warehouse, finally getting the sleep I need. The Heights at Summit Ridge is behind me, but the lesson is not. When someone abuses their authority, when they manufacture violations and move the goalposts and weaponize the rules, the best revenge is not breaking the rules yourself. It is holding them accountable to the same rules they claim to follow. It is gathering the evidence, reopening the cold case, and letting the system do what it is supposed to do. And when the system finally works, when the fake fine scheme collapses and the bad actor gets removed, it feels better than any petty revenge ever could. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next HOA story.